In the last period, we understood that Mridu was just shocked to hear an unpleasant screeching sound that was coming from a nearby place. But she didn't know where that sound was coming from. It was very unpleasant sound as she felt. Finally, Ravi said her that the sound was coming from the room, from a nearby room where Lali, another girl of the house, was learning to play the violin. But as he said, she would never learn to play the violin. But that very unpleasant sound was created. So Mridu felt herself curious and wanted to see how Lali was learning the violin. That's why she slowly and secretly went to the room where Lali was learning the violin and started by creeping into the window. She started seeing, watching what was happening there, and even Ravi and Meena too joined Mridu there. Now let us see what Mridu found from the part 2 of the lesson. Mridu crept up to the window. Lali was sitting at a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. So, when Mridu secretly crept into the window, there she found Mridu was sitting down on the floor, holding her violin, but awkwardly. Awkwardly means it means that actually Mridu was so poor in terms of violin that she couldn't even hold it properly. So it is here the word is used as awkwardly, somewhat not in an expected manner. She was holding that violin in that way and trying her best to learn the violin. Mridu noticed that she was sitting in that room a little distance away, and her elbows jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. Mridu found that Lali's eyes, in Lali's eyes there was a glaze, there was a shine of concentration. To the best of her level, Lali tried to concentrate on what her teacher was teaching her. Next, let us see something about her teacher. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. He had a mostly bald head with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old-fashioned tuft. See, here there in the room on the floor, where facing herself against the window, where Lali was sitting a little bit distance in front of her itself. Even her music master too was sitting, teaching her how to play the violin, and that most of the music master's back was leaning against the wall, against the window there. Okay, he was just almost his wall leaning to the wall and sitting like that, holding his violin into his hands. he was playing and teaching Lally the violin, and he most of his head looked to be bald. It means the music master was mostly bald headed. See there in the picture too, you could see both the music master and Lally sitting against to each other, whereas from the window side of the room, those three children were watching the scene. So that is what you could notice. And here we also notice that the music master was bald-headed, and he had hair only on the back side of his head. He had black hair, but only on the back side of his head, and at the end his hair was tuft. He had an old-fashioned tuft. Tuft means here he had an old-fashioned tuft at the back of his head. Tuft means a bunch of hair. That we call it a tuft. It means the music master had tied his hair at the back, and so we could call it a tuft. He had an old-fashioned tuft. See there, we could see. Okay. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered vesty edge, and he was beating time on the floor with the scrawny big toe. See, here we could also see that we already saw that he had an old-fashioned tuft at the back of his head, but his hair was black in spite of his old age, no doubt. Her music master was an old age man. He was there, and additional to that, here we also could see that he had a gleaming gold chain around his neck. We could find that his gold chain was shining, somewhat shiny it was, as it was of gold. And not only that much, the music master was rich enough to wear even a diamond ring too. First of all, he had a gold chain around his leathery skin. Leathery skin, it means, see, you know it well that as far as any old age persons, we find that their skin seemed to be wrinkled all around, and as if their skin was falling down like this. So no doubt even that music master's skin too seemed like that, and his neck seemed to be leathery. Around his leathery neck he had a gold chain and even a diamond ring to one of his fingers. So every time when the music master played the violin using the stem of it, that diamond ring glided up and down like this. Every time when he used to play the violin like this, his diamond ring to go up and down. So that's what we learned from it. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold-bordered vesty edge, and he was beating time on the floor with the scrawny big toe. No doubt that in the picture we could also see that the music master was wearing a dhoti, which itself in Tamil is called vesti. Here it is the dhoti. Dhoti has got the Tamil word called vesti. That vesti is used here in this lesson. Vesti means in Tamil language dhoti. The music master was wearing a traditional dhoti, and his feet, one of his feet was coming out of his vesti. Gold bordered dhoti he was wearing, and out of his dhoti one of his feet was coming out, and it was visible. And while he was playing the violin, as if like while he was playing the background, his music was accompanied with his foot patting, with his foot beating on the floor. He was beating his foot on the floor, while he was playing the violin. Okay.